I'm Joe, a 28-year-old man who always felt like the black sheep in my family. I have a twin brother, Sam, and we were treated very differently by our parents. They always thought Sam was destined for greatness while I was just a troublemaker. This favoritism led to some serious issues and eventually, a huge falling out. Growing up, Sam and I were never treated equally. My parents constantly compared us, always highlighting Sam's achievements while dismissing mine. They seemed convinced that Sam was the smart, talented one destined for success, while I was just wasting my time with sports and friends. This constant comparison was demoralizing and bruised my self-esteem from a young age. On our birthday, Sam always got the extravagant parties and sleepovers with friends, while I was treated like an afterthought. The only person in the family who seemed to care about me was my grandmother. She always brought me my favorite chocolates and sometimes slipped me a few dollars to treat myself later. She was my only source of comfort in a household that felt like it didn't want me. As the years passed, my parents' favoritism for Sam gradually transformed into emotional abuse directed at me. They openly mocked my grades and belittled my hobbies. It felt as though no matter how much I tried, I could never meet their expectations. I was good at sports, but they barred me from participating in extracurricular activities, wanting me to focus solely on academics like Sam. It was frustrating and made me feel helpless as a child. During my sophomore year, I got grounded for having Snapchat on my phone. I had done nothing wrong except download the app to stay connected with friends, like any other teenager. But my parents went ballistic, throwing my stuff around the room and taking the doors off my hinges, saying I would have no privacy as long as I lived under their roof. Watching my parents abuse me this way, Sam made my life even worse. He exploited the situation to his advantage, lying about me and falsely accusing me of things I never did, so he could get away with everything. If he stole something, he'd effortlessly shift the blame to me, and my parents, already inclined to believe the worst about me, readily accepted his lies. He would demean me in front of my friends at school and make fun of my appearance. Despite this, I had a wide circle of friends at school because I was approachable and open to making connections. Sam, however, struggled socially and resented that I could talk to people while he, as an introvert, felt awkward. This jealousy reached a boiling point during our 14th birthday party when no one showed up for him. I have no idea why his friends did that, but in stark contrast, my friends took me out for ice cream, and I had a wonderful day. This infuriated Sam further. To take revenge, he began spreading false rumors at school, portraying me as a spoiled brat who physically abused him at home. He would punch himself, inflicting injuries like black eyes or bruised shoulders, and then confidently show them off as proof of my supposed violence. These lies gained traction, and people began to believe his distorted version of events. Whispers started circulating, and even my friends began to look at me with suspicion. Invitations to group hangouts became fewer and farther between. It was like a switch had been flipped, and people were hesitant to associate with the supposedly violent girl. One day I mustered the courage to ask my best friend why things had changed between us. She opened up about the rumors Sam had been spreading, accusing me of things I had never done. I was shocked and felt a mix of disbelief and betrayal. My own brother was spreading lies about me, accusing me of things I would never dream of doing. I confronted Sam, but he chose to ignore me. I begged him to stop lying about me, but he smirked and told me I deserved to rot alone. I was scared and didn't know what to do. I wanted to talk to my parents, but I was afraid they would believe Sam over me. The isolation stung, especially because I had always been open to making friends. It felt like Sam's jealousy-fueled lies were tearing down the connections I had built over the years. Teachers began to catch wind of the rumors, and it was a surreal experience, as if I were living in a parallel reality where my true self was overshadowed by Sam's malicious story. The lies grew beyond mere teenage gossip and started shaping how people truly perceived me. The nasty rumor quickly reached the principal's ears, and my worst nightmare came true. The principal called me, Sam, and our parents into his office to discuss the rumors. I sat there, heart pounding, hoping Sam would finally come clean. Instead, he doubled down on the lies, painting me as a bully who went around beating him up when our parents weren't around. My mom cried, holding on to Sam like he was some kind of hero. My dad tried to comfort him, saying he was brave for speaking up and that he would make sure nothing ever happened to him again. I tried to defend myself, pleading with the principal that it was all made up. But my brother kept at it, insisting I was an angry, violent person. My mom's tears kept coming as she held on to Sam, giving me accusing looks. The principal reprimanded me, saying the school didn't tolerate bullying and that these were grounds for suspension. I pleaded with him not to suspend me, but he shook his head, saying he couldn't just let it slide. I was suspended for 10 days, and it hit me hard. My parents, angry and embarrassed, dragged me out of the principal's office. When we got home, my dad started packing up my stuff. I was shocked and confused. My mom asked him what he was doing, but he shouted that he couldn't let me live in the same house as Sam anymore. I pleaded with my brother to tell the truth, but he stayed cold and unmoved. My dad continued packing my things and threw the suitcase into the foyer. I clung to his legs, begging him not to throw me out. But he told me a bully like me didn't deserve to live in his house. He said he would ask his mother, my grandmother, to come and pick me up if she wanted to. Eventually, my grandmother showed up. She gathered my things and helped me into the car. She yelled at my dad for treating me this way and warned him that if he ever approached me or tried to contact me again, she wouldn't hesitate to involve the police or CPS. My mother tried to deflect blame, but my grandmother stood her ground, defending me. She emphasized that I was just a child who didn't deserve to be treated so heartlessly. That was the first time I felt how powerful my grandmother was. She didn't cower down to my parents and trusted me. We drove away, leaving behind the only home I had ever known. The pain I felt during that time was indescribable. I cried for days, barely eating despite my grandmother's urgings. I told her what Sam had done, and she was shocked. She assured me that she believed me, and I was grateful to have someone on my side. When the 10-day suspension lifted, returning to school felt like stepping back into a lion's den. The judgmental whispers and sidelong glances were overwhelming. The weight of the false accusations lingered, and I felt like an outcast. I kept my head down, attending classes, having lunch alone, and going straight home. My parents never called to check on me. My grandmother constantly reminded me that this was not my fault and that life would eventually get better. I graduated high school with good grades and looked forward to college, hoping for a fresh start. College was a breath of fresh air. For the first time, I experienced freedom. No one was watching over my shoulders, comparing my grades or competing with me. I formed friendships with like-minded individuals and focused on enjoying the college experience. During this time, I discovered my knack for content writing. To earn some side money, I started freelancing. I signed up on various platforms and secured jobs from prominent clients, slowly building a portfolio. When I graduated, I realized I could pursue content writing full-time. I was financially independent and had long-term professional relationships with clients. Having a legitimate freelancing career allowed me to travel the world as a digital nomad. Traveling helped heal me from my past. Despite the challenges, I saved up and took a chance on myself. Over the years, I've seen so much of the world, and yet have so much left to see. Throughout it all, my grandmother remained my rock. I visited her on weekends, sharing meals and conversations. She was my family, the only one who mattered. Recently, I completed an important project for a well-known brand. I shared screenshots of their positive reviews on Instagram, which led to messages from strangers seeking my help. My relatives noticed and some reached out to congratulate me. Eventually, my college's principal invited me to speak at a seminar about building a career as a content writer. Public speaking made me nervous, but I took a chance. Sharing my experiences and insights felt empowering. My speech resonated with many, and clips of it started going viral. I was invited to speak on a local news channel about the benefits of content writing. The opportunity to inspire others was both humbling and exhilarating. I shared these clips on Instagram, and word spread within my family. My parents, who had never talked about me to anyone, finally realized how well I was doing. A few days later, I was working on another project with my phone on silent. When I checked it, there were 6 missed calls from my mom. Shocked, I called her back. She congratulated me, and my dad joined the conversation, inquiring about my life and well-being. Then they began asking about my earnings. I told them it was none of their business, but my dad insisted we were family and I shouldn't be shy. My mom then mentioned how hard their life was and how they needed money for house renovations. I was furious. After all those years of silence, they were now asking for money. I told them I wasn't going to help. My mom called me a selfish brat, saying it was my duty to support my family. My dad added that as my parents, they deserved to be looked after. I got an idea. Instead of arguing, I told them I would help if they publicly admitted in front of family and friends that Sam was behind the rumors that tarnished my reputation. I wanted them to humiliate Sam the same way they had humiliated me. My dad questioned the necessity of such an admission, and my mom said it was unnecessary and could be discussed privately. But I held my ground. This was non-negotiable. If they wanted my help, the truth needed to be acknowledged publicly. Since that conversation, my parents have been trying to call me incessantly, but I've been ignoring their calls. I regret even calling them back that day. I wonder if I'm being a jerk for not helping my parents at all. Update 1. It's been a whirlwind of a week since I shared my story, and the support and encouragement I've received from everyone have been overwhelming. It's heartening to know that I'm not alone. I'm glad everyone agrees that I should not engage with my parents or consider helping them out after what they put me through. The reason I gave them such a condition was because I knew it was impossible for them to do it. They love Sam too much, and despite knowing he lied, they will never put him through what they put me through. Today, Sam sent me a nasty text message after my parents tried to contact me again, and I refused to pick up their calls. He wrote, "Hey Joe, it's been a long time since I saw you, and every day without you has been great. Mom and Dad reached out to you, and you gave them a crazy ultimatum. They are never going to go through with it. They never loved you and will never do anything to hurt me. I admit I lied about you, but that was a long time ago. Stop being selfish and move on. You're unmarried and childless, so why not help them out? Do the right thing and be a better son." Seeing the message felt like a stab to my chest. The audacity to dismiss my struggles and the conditions I set spoke volumes about his lack of empathy. His attempt to guilt-trip me by emphasizing my unmarried and childless status was another layer of insensitivity. Fueled by frustration and a strong desire for justice, I decided it was time to reveal the truth. I sat down to write an email to my parents and close relatives, sharing the painful details of my childhood and the unfair treatment I endured. In the email, I described the strict and oppressive environment I grew up in and how my parents treated me compared to Sam. I detailed the malicious rumors Sam spread about me, which led to severe consequences and affected my reputation. I explained how my parents kicked me out and that if it weren't for my grandmother, I might have been dead in the streets. I attached a screenshot of Sam's message admitting he lied about me, hoping it would expose the lies that persisted for too long. I sent the email an hour ago, and I know all hell will break loose once my family reads it. I'll update you next on how my family reacts. Update 2. It's been a month since my last update, and a lot has happened. As expected, my family erupted after receiving the email. My parents have received criticism from relatives who were previously unaware of the extent of the favoritism and emotional abuse. Many family members reached out, apologizing for not being there for me. My brother and parents sent me a barrage of abusive and violent messages, so I decided to reach out to a lawyer. He sent them a cease and desist notice, warning them to stop contacting me or face legal consequences. This must have scared them straight because they stopped contacting me. My grandmother thinks I did the right thing by letting everyone know what happened and supports me 100%. She is the only person who matters to me, so I'm glad she has my back. Update 3. It's been 2 months since my last update. Professionally, my content writing business is flourishing. Invitations to speak at seminars and podcasts continue to roll in, solidifying my position in my field. I remain close to my grandmother, visiting her regularly. Recently, I took a week off to spend quality time with her. She's into gardening now and taught me about various flowers and herbs. The moments I spend with her are my most cherished memories. My family has not contacted me since the lawyer's letter. Personally, I've started going to therapy, hoping to heal from the past. I think this will be my last update for now. I'm in a good place both professionally and personally, and I'm optimistic about the future. The trip was a wake-up call for my parents. After Emily's arrest and the loss of their passports and wallets, they realized they were dealing with more than just a spoiled child. They understood the danger Emily posed, not only to themselves but potentially to others. Their desperation led them to reach out to me, despite the strained relationship. I could hear the fear and regret in their voices as they explained their predicament. It was a humbling moment for them and a validating one for me. I had warned them for years about Emily, but it took this extreme situation for them to see the truth. The process of helping my parents from afar was challenging, coordinating with Western Union to send them money, ensuring they could find a place to stay until their documents were recovered, and constantly reassuring them over the phone was draining. I wanted to fly out and help them, but my responsibilities at work and the volatile nature of the situation made it impossible. My parents managed to find their passports hidden in the hotel room, just as I had suspected. With their documents in hand, they could finally book a flight back home. Upon their return, the atmosphere was tense. Emily, realizing the jig was up, became even more belligerent. My parents, now fully aware of her manipulative tactics, stood their ground. The confrontation was explosive, with Emily hurling accusations and threats. She threatened to ruin their reputation, claiming she would tell everyone they had neglected and mistreated her. This was a devastating blow to my parents, who were respected figures in their community. The fear of these false allegations weighed heavily on them. Emily's escalating behavior left my parents with no choice but to involve the authorities again. Her arrest for assaulting my father was a turning point. They realized they needed to take legal action to protect themselves. Consulting with a lawyer, they began the eviction process. It was a heart-wrenching decision for them, but necessary. The court ruling in their favor provided a sense of relief, knowing they could reclaim their home and peace of mind. With Emily's eviction, my parents sought refuge with me in San Francisco. It was a time for healing and reconciliation. They admitted their mistakes, expressing deep regret for not believing me sooner. Our conversations were raw and emotional, but necessary for us to move forward. We spent time exploring the city, enjoying simple pleasures like dining out and walking through parks. These moments helped rebuild our bond, creating new memories to overshadow the painful past. We discussed Emily's future, understanding that her behavior might stem from deeper psychological issues. Encouraging her to seek help was our priority. We knew we couldn't force her, but we hoped that with time, she might realize the need for professional assistance. My parents planned to approach her gently, expressing their love and concern. They hoped to meet her in public, minimizing the chances of another outburst. Our goal was to help her understand the impact of her actions and to guide her towards a path of healing. As the days turned into weeks, the wounds began to heal. My parents and I continued to strengthen our relationship, building trust and understanding. They stayed with me for a month, enjoying the calm and support they desperately needed. We shared stories, cooked meals together, and even took a short trip to the countryside. It was a time of reflection and growth for all of us. When the time came for them to return home, we had a plan in place. They would continue to seek therapy, both individually and as a couple, to process the trauma and rebuild their relationship. I promised to visit more often, maintaining the connection we had rekindled. My parents were determined to support Emily from a distance, hoping she would eventually seek the help she needed. In the months that followed, our lives slowly returned to a new normal. My parents kept me updated on their progress and their attempts to reach out to Emily. She was staying with a friend, and while she remained distant, we hoped she would eventually come around. My parents continued their therapy sessions, finding solace in each other's support. For me, the journey was one of personal growth. I had faced my family's betrayal, navigated through the complexities of forgiveness, and emerged stronger. My career continued to thrive, and I found new hobbies and interests that brought joy and fulfillment. Volunteering at a local shelter became a passion, allowing me to give back to the community and find purpose in helping others. Reflecting on the past year, I realized how far we had come as a family. The pain and betrayal had given way to healing and reconciliation. My parents' acknowledgement of their mistakes and their commitment to change had restored my faith in our relationship. We were not perfect, but we were learning and growing together. The future held promise and hope. I was ready to face any challenges that came our way, knowing we had the strength and resilience to overcome them. Our journey was a testament to the power of love, forgiveness, and the unwavering bond of family. We had found our way back to each other, and that was a victory worth celebrating.